Well, class, this is Mr. S, and today I've got a video interview with Detective Patrick McGill with the Pelham, Alabama Police Department, who is also assigned to the Secret Service Electronic Crimes Task Force, where he conducts a variety of different investigations that have a cyber forensic component, whether it's a computer crime or involves a computer in one form or another. So, Patrick, beyond what I just said, tell us a little bit about the type of work you currently do, both with Pelham Police Department and with the Secret Services Task Force.
Right. So what we do is, let's say at the Secret Service Task Force, we are a lab setting. We have anywhere from 6 to 10 individuals that are in the lab. And so if a police department or an agency, it could be federal agency, state agency, will bring a device, it could be a computer or iPad, a cell phone, any digital device, they'll bring it to this lab and we analyze it. So we'll look at it, we'll take photographs of it. It is a complete forensic workup. During the analysis part of it, they could be looking for anything from fraud cases to let's say check fraud, wire fraud. It could be child pornography cases, theft, burglaries, murder, anything any kind of crime that involves a digital device, cell phone, computer, whatever. Which is nowadays most of crimes can be linked to some sort of device, specifically a cell phone in most cases. So we will take these cell phones or other digital devices and we'll analyze them for the detective, for the agent, and then give them a report back.
Now, getting to where you currently are in your career, if you would, describe your career progression from your initial position in law enforcement to how you kind of got to the positions you have today.
Sure. So I started off, I was actually not going to college to be a police officer, but I took a criminal justice class and I said, this is it for me. So I started my career doing that. And so that was the start of me wanting to do that. So I went to Jacksonville State University. I said, hey, they have got a great career track, and back in 2001, 2002. And so when I got up there, jumped into a lot of the criminal justice activities, one being if you were in the program, you could work at the county jail. It was $7, $8 an hour, but you get exposure to a lot of the criminal justice elements. And so started there, went to dispatch, became a deputy there, and from there came here to Pelham. And to get into the IT side of things, I've always been a kind of a techno-nerdy kind of guy. So I've always enjoyed tinkering with stuff. And so in law enforcement, there was really, at the time, there was really no avenue for me to pursue that. So took some certifications, took some classes, let them know what I was capable of doing, and the chief assigned me to the Electronic Crimes Task Force. Got more training, more involved with electronic crimes. Fast forward to 2017, over the last 10 or 12 years or so, it went from little flip phones and, we call them Zach Morris phones, the real big ones, all the way to iPhones and iPads. So there's a lot of technology in the progression of the years span. So that we have to look at. But actually getting into the IT realm or the cyber forensic, digital forensic realm, it was more just a passion of mine. So it was something that I could bring to the table to help out cases, to help out the department, and they saw that.
Now, knowing you personally, I also know that you have a background in crime scene work. Do you find that there's some transferable skill sets from having done crime scene forensics with physical evidence compared to cyber forensics?
Absolutely. Because when you have a digital device, it is a piece of evidence. It possibly could be the most important piece of evidence, because a lot of that refers to timelines. And I know you're probably talking to this in class at some point, but a timeline structure of when something happens to the end product. On a cell phone, you have basically all of that, from call logs to text messages, pictures, dates and times, EXIF data. So you can put together a big timeline in these devices that you have, even computers. So bringing from the the crime scene world, you have to treat every phone like that as a piece of evidence, just like a blood drop, or just like a fingerprint. There's procedures that you have to do. We take photographs. We handle stuff properly. Chain of custody is paramount, and so we treat it just like any other piece of evidence at a crime scene.
How did law enforcement officers perform cyber forensic techniques in a criminal investigation?
It's a good question, because, like I said, everything nowadays, most of everything, involves some sort of digital technology or digital. There's a digital fingerprint. Even if it's somebody robbing a store, we don't know who it is. There's still, most likely CCTV, like surveillance television, that they have recording. So that's a form of digital evidence that we have to go procure and take back, and we use it as evidence. So, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Different types of forensic techniques.
I'm sorry, different types of forensic techniques. I apologize. I ramble. So, forensic techniques, there would be, we use a lot of tools for these forensic techniques. You've probably seen the whole Apple versus FBI. You might have heard the Cellbrite tool that we actually use. That's a technique that we use for breaking into phones, extracting data from phones, and essentially parsing that data to see what is on that device. Besides on other techniques, we go to like a server room. Let's say if we went to a large bank that was intruded, or if somebody hacked in to a business or something, we would use different techniques, FTK imager, anything that analyzes RAM, and network analysis. That's some techniques that we use too.
Yeah, I can remember when I was a special agent with NCIS for 2 years. I was assigned to a child pornography unit, and we had a CD that would be put into the CD-ROM of a computer and would automatically boot up a program to search the computer for child pornography. Mm-hmm. But now you have computers nowadays that don't even have a CD-ROM, so because of the technology advances. So I imagine a lot of the tools that were used even 5-10 years ago are having to change with the technology advances.
They are, and they do change. Everything is usually USB bootable. A lot of, if you like Linux, there's a lot of Linux commands that you can do, or Mac is a form of Unix, so it runs off a Unix kernel. So there's a lot of stuff on the Mac side you can do without all these expensive, programs or stuff that you can buy.
How about describe how you utilize cyber forensics as a police detective? Are there different cases that you work in your local jurisdiction as opposed to when you're assigned to the task force?
Absolutely. Like I said, we do a lot. We're a very small town compared to Birmingham, Chicago, New York. So we deal with a lot more small town, lower scale thefts. A lot of criminals come from the bigger cities or from adjacent cities, stuff like that. But we as a city deal with a lot more thefts, burglaries, breaking and entering vehicles, and just smaller things like that. Versus when I go to the task force, you get a lot bigger scale things, more the bigger child pornography. Department of Homeland Security does a lot of the child pornography raids and stuff like that. So we get a lot of their evidence. The Secret Service does a lot of intrusion cases. So we would go out to servers and stuff like that, or to businesses that have major servers, and collect that type of evidence. It's something we rarely get in a small city situation, but it does vary a good bit. Not saying that we don't have a lot of big cases at Pelham, but you just see a lot more of the bigger cases at the task force, especially the rapes, the murders, the higher profile Class A felony type cases.
So for any student who may be watching this video, who may be interested in a future career in cyber forensics, what would you recommend an interested college student do to better prepare themselves for a career field in cyber forensics?
First of all, you need to have a passion. You need to have a want to do this. It's not something that it's going to come easy. It is evolving. Just think of 20 years ago, if you heard the phrase or the letters DNA, you knew what it was. You learned about it in science class, but if you were policing back then or knew of a police officer, that it really wasn't evolving. Digital forensics is sort of at that level right now. It's just sort of going up the steep slope, and people are very new to it even now. So I would definitely have some sort of knowledge and computer background. If you don't have it yet, there's CompTIA certifications that'll get you, I guess, kind of more or less the phrase, get your feet wet to see if you like that. You have the A+ certification, Security Plus, Network Plus. That would be true certifications that IT professionals have, but it will actually teach you basic skills to see if you grasp the concepts of networking and wireless connectivity and how a computer operates. So if you can grasp these concepts, this probably would come fairly naturally to you. When you are getting into digital forensics, there is specific guidelines that you have to meet for departments. There are not just for departments, but for state, local, and federal type agencies. When you go to federal court, you have to meet certain guidelines, stuff like that. So there's a lot of training involved. If you do like for digital forensics and you don't want to be a police officer, there are civilian forensic examiners. Federal agencies and state agencies hire, non-gun toting civilian examiners, and you get paid roughly the same. If you want to be a police officer, it's probably going to be the easier route, just because you get in to a larger department, let's say Hoover Police Department or Birmingham Police Department, and you have the specific skill set or the aspiration of what you want to do, and they'll probably fast track you more towards that. And with the government agencies, even local, state, and federal, they always budget money, and they always have, they'll always give you the certifications and the training that you need. And so when you're in the private sector, you might have to provide this on your own. And a lot of that can be expensive. You're looking at $4,000 to $7,000 worth of training just to get you up to just the basic levels for mobile forensics and just regular computer forensics. We call it dead box forensics, and then network analysis forensics. So there's a lot of certifications and a lot of training that go into this. So it all depends on what you want to how to pursue it. So like I said, there's the public sector, or there's also the private sector.
And would you agree that if a student is interested in a future career in cyber forensics, that it may behoove them as a student to look into opportunities to attend meetings like, say, with InfraGard or the ISSA, similar information security type groups that would help them to network with people that are in the field, whether in the private or public sector? Exactly.
Networking is key. So if you know of any sort of organizations that provide this, and it's free. He was saying InfraGard. It's a really good organization. There's banking and there's probably 20 or 30 different types of industries that all come together, and it's all about cybersecurity. Not necessarily digital forensics, but it's a group that involves that with it. So if there is a specific skill set or a group that you can join, then I would definitely pursue that.
Okay, and lastly, for the students who may not be interested in a career path in cyber forensics, but are interested in a career path in criminal investigation, being a detective, federal agent, state special agent, whatever. For those that are interested in an investigative career path, what would you advise to those students to help better prepare them for that future career?
Right. So to prepare for that, you're probably going to have to start out as a police officer. If you
A
want to
uniform
be,
police officer.
I'm sorry, yes, a patrol police officer. Just like in the military, it's going to be stair-stepped. You know, you're going to have to work your way up from the bottom to the top. Really, just like any organization. But being a police officer really gives you the insight and the know-how and the knowledge of becoming an investigator. If you just jump in as an investigator, you don't know, certain policies, procedures. You don't know the people that you deal with on a daily basis out in your department or in your city, and so it really gives you a leg up in becoming a true, a really good detective or a good investigator.
All right. Well, thank you, Detective McGill, for all your information and insight into the long-standing career of being a police investigator, but also the merging and growing field of cyber forensics.
Absolutely. Good luck.